We are gonna geek the fuck out today.
Hey, shut up.
Welcome to episode 229 of Nerdery and Murdering.
Big 229. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. For those of you listening this week, it is Happy New Year's Eve week. So happy New Year's Eve. As we record. For us, it's Halloween week. That's how far in advance we are. For us, it's Halloween week, and Chelsea and I are going to a party Friday night where in the neighborhood, and we're going to be giving out candy, kids and whatnot, but it's a bunch of people we know. And Chelsea and I are going as a beer keg and a breathalyzer. My beer keg has a little pouch in it that I can fill with liquid, and it has a
You can actually just spit shit out of it.
Spit shit out of it. So we're looking forward to that. It'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, we're bringing back a former guest from our show. The person we're bringing back, for those of you who have purchased the book Prime Numbers or are familiar with it, this is the inspiration behind the character Khan in Prime Numbers. So welcome back, Keith.
Keith.
How's it going, guys?
What's
Good.
going on?
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We
I just happened to be wandering by.
Well, we wanted to bring Keith back for a couple of episodes in particular. This is the first one of two. The next one will be a couple episodes away. But the two nerdery topics we're discussing are something that Keith and I played for years, and then something that Keith and I and Zig played for years along with other people. So we'll talk about that when we get into the nerdery side of the show, but that's why we brought him in. I had a few things that I was going to mention. First one, I know that Zig doesn't care, but I do have listeners out there who do enjoy the game of golf and follow along with me. I want to say that golf is a very weird game. I say that. My friend Billy that I play golf with, he and I yesterday played 9 holes. Let me back up. When you play golf, you have a bag with about 13 to 14 clubs in it, from your driver all the way down to your putter. They each do something different. Yesterday, he and I played with a 7-iron, a wedge, and a putter, and that's it. Just to see, it changes up the game a little bit, but why I say it's weird, we usually play with a full bag and get a certain score. We played with a 7-iron, a wedge, and a putter yesterday, and got the same score. So it's a weird game. It's a very weird game. We had a lot of fun doing that.
Well, if you get the same score, why not just carry the 3 clubs and just do that?
I think there's a commentary there about the marketing of golf equipment.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It changes things up because, with a 7-iron, I can only hit it so far, but then I would get to these really weird ranges that I would normally have a pitching wedge or my gap wedge, and I had to hit my 7 differently to make that shorter distance. So it was very interesting. It was a lot of fun. We played 9 holes that way. I think he went on to play the rest of the 18. I had to go. But anyway, that was so weird. A couple other things coming to Dallas-Fort Worth, Zig, is you'll have to look it up. I wish I'd had the link. There is a D&D immersive experience.
Oh, yeah.
Coming to DFW.
Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff.
It looked really cool. I'd like to see that.
I love a good LARP.
Yeah. There is a Return to Dark Tower expansion that is on Kickstarter right now that I think looks interesting, which is funny because Keith, Zig, and I all played the Return to Dark Tower, and we only played the first set. I mean, we only got into like 2 of the different scenarios you can do.
Oh, God, that was awesome. And it was so
great.
close, too, the whole time.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a blast.
I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, me too. I'm seriously considering getting the expansion just to have all of it because it was so much fun and such a great um, throwback to the original, but it really changed up how the game is played and what you do. It was really, really cool. So
Yeah. It's like any
um,
game like that that's based on setup scenarios. If you like it enough that you play it often enough or enough times, you got to have expansions
oh
because
yeah.
yeah, no matter how much fun, it is, if you've only got 8 different, scenarios to play and you play each of those 8 scenarios a half a dozen times, so
Mhm.
it's not just a cash grab, it's a great
Yeah.
game. It deserves to be played a lot, and that just means you're going to need more content.
Yeah. Yeah. The last thing I had to mention, I just finished the latest season, the re-release of King of the Hill, which was awesome. They did such a great job this season, but it'd be sad because as I was going through it during that season, the character or the actor who voices Dale Gribble
Dale.
died.
Mhm.
Oh no.
And the very last episode, the actor who voiced John Redcorn died.
Right.
So it has been greenlit for another season, so it is coming back. I don't know if they're going to try to AI the voices or if they're going to get new ones.
They've got some of the same actors are able to do those voices. So
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
some of the other cast members are able to do those voices. So
It's really funny. It takes place after Hank Hill and Peggy have retired, and Bobby is now, a young man in his 20s, and he owns he's co-owner partner in a restaurant.
Robota
Um,
Shane.
Robota Chan,
Yeah.
or Robota Shan, something like that. Which is what is it? It's a Korean barbecue Texan fusion.
Yeah. It's all his sides are German dishes from the hill country.
Yes,
That's why the
yes,
Shane, like
yes.
Donka Shane.
So it's
I'd go there.
Yeah, me
I
too.
would too. Absolutely. I mean, the food that he describes on it, I'm like, wow, that sounds
Good
amazing.
God. What
But
a
it's
good
so
Korean
fun.
barbecue and with some pickled red onions on the side. Jesus Christ, that sounds delicious.
It's really very, very funny. They kept the overall atmosphere of King of the Hill very, very well. And just Peggy and Hank in retirement is quite funny. If you have not watched it and you like the original King of the Hill, highly recommend going back. For us, especially Zig and I, for sure, we've talked about this in the past. I really like King of the Hill because all the characters in King of the Hill, I have relatives that are in that
Yeah.
show.
My entire
Um,
family sounds like the King of the Hill. My dad is Boomhauer. My uncle is Dale. It's just
Yeah. I think that it's a really a shared experience, probably not just from Texas, but from, areas all around this region of the country where if you grew up, you spent your whole life in Texas and you come from a family that's at least, one generation of Texans back. Yeah, every single character in King of the Hill.
yeah, yeah,
all of them.
yeah, and it's hysterical. Mike Judge did such a good job with this show, and I was so happy with the re-release. And like I said, it has been greenlit for another season. I think if they keep on this, they'll probably keep going with this. I mean, shoot, King of the Hill could go on for so long. I mean, the Simpsons are now I think in season 30.
36, I believe.
36. My God, just unbelievable,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
crazy. Bananas.
All right, Zig, you got anything for us? You ready to kick it over to the nerdy side of the house?
I'm ready to get on the nerdy side of the house. Now I have
Go
a few
for it.
pages of notes for, times and dates and stuff, but when we get in the meat of this, thankfully we have Keith, because he used to run these when he was in high school and college. So
Oh, was I supposed to
Wait,
prepare for this?
wait. You need to back up. It's not just him. We got into this very similar times. He was into it slightly before me. There's not a run it. You play it.
it's Starfleet battles. That's what
Yes.
we're talking about today.
Yes.
That's why we had to have you on. You know more about this than either one. he knows more than I do. You know more than he does. So
I'm going to
Well,
disagree with that. You kidding me? So, okay, let me take the pod back machine. And Keith introduced me to Starfleet Battles. Um, we played for a little while, and Keith is a very strong-willed person. Um, and after we played for a little while, his comment to me, and I'm loosely quoting, was, "Say, man, go get your own rule books, or you can't play with me no more." So I had to start gathering the rule books, and the initial set of three that you have, the rule book was probably at least this thick. Those of you who can see on camera, it's a few inches thick.
yeah, mine,
And
you combine all the rule sets together, and I believe that mine were in a 2-inch binder.
yes, yeah. And then you start getting the expansions that you add in. You get the errata that you have to add in, all the various things. And I spent a lot of time studying that rules manual, like I was having to take it for a class, like I had a
Right.
test. Because one of the things about Starfleet battles, if you want to be good at it, you better know backwards and forwards how a ship works.
Right. And, to your point, I want to say that, because of the exhaustive reading of this voluminous set of rules, I think Starfleet Battles was the first time anybody ever called me a rules lawyer, which is a name that has, followed me around ever since.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
in amongst my gamer circles anyway.
yeah. I can agree with that.
All right, so a little bit of information on Starfleet Battle. It is a tactical board war game set in an offshoot of the Star Trek setting called the Starfleet universe. It was originally created in 1979 by Stephen V. Cole. It has 4 major editions. The current edition is published by Amarillo Design Bureau as Starfleet Battles Captain's Edition. Starfleet Battles is a ship-to-ship warfare simulation game which uses cardboard counters to represent the ships, shuttles, seeking weapons, terrain, and information on a hexagonal map. It is a game system for 2 or more players. There are some solitaire scenarios. Typically, a player will have 1 ship in a game, though they can control an entire fleet if they can keep track of the paperwork and options involved. Multiple players can play as teams, with each team splitting up the work of running a squadron or fleet, or a free-for-all fight can be run. Ships represented in the game are typically starships from such classic Star Trek powers as the Federation, the Romulan Star Empire, the Klingon Empire, or purely Starfleet creations such as the Hydran Kingdom or Interstellar Concordium. The game system uses an impulse-based turn system, which is a departure from the traditional I-go-you-go alternating system used by most wargaming. A ship's speed determines how often and when it can move based on a 32 impulse movement chart. Generally, a unit only moves 1 hex at a time, making 32 the maximum speed in the game. Similar systems are used in games such as Steve Jackson's Car Wars, which uses a 5-phase system and is designed to more realistically simulate unit movements in an environment where the units can move a great distance of the time needed for non-movement functions like weapons fire to occur. It was based on the Star Trek universe of 1979 and includes elements from the original series, the animated series. Federation elements are heavily based on concepts from the Star Trek Starfleet technical manuals. But unlike the mainstream Star Trek universe, Starfleet Battle seems to consider some, but not all, of the animated series as being canon material sources, thus leading to the inclusion of aliens such as the Kzinti, because they were in the animated series, which we've talked about before.
Can I add something here, Zig?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So my recollection is that when Amarillo Design Bureau or whoever wrote the first edition of Starfleet, they were only able to license like the IP and images of like the original series from 66 to 69 and the animated series from 72 and 73. So what you've got is you've got this version of Star Trek that, although it has advanced over the years, it's it still looks, it has the look and feel of the Kirk, Spock, McCoy era original Enterprise, not even the movie stuff,
Mm-mm.
like the round nacelles and the 60s model looking ships. It's got a very interesting sort of a design palette because they've had to expand for years and years using the same well, like I said, the same design language.
Yeah,
So it's been very interesting, and it's why I think a lot of people maybe won't play Starfleet battles because they get into it, because they say for example they grew up watching Next Generation. Well,
yeah,
there's nothing from Next Generation in Starfleet battles, that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just with the publication of the Starfleet Battles of the Star Trek universe have diverged considerably. As Keith said, the resulting diverging worlds of Starfleet battles is known as the Starfleet universe. So it's different. There's several notable games set in the universe, including Starfleet Command, um, which combines parts of SFU with parts of the canon Star Trek. The role-playing system setting Prime Directive, currently available for GURPS and D20 systems, the card game Starfleet Battle Force, and the strategy game Federation and Empire, as well as the recently released Federation Commander. So those are all kind of set in the universe. But as Keith pointed out too, you basically get the monsters and the foes from animated and regular series. So you've got like the Doomsday Machine or the Space Amoeba from the Immunity Syndrome. Um, Starfleet Battles was originally published as a pocket game in a Ziploc bag as Task Force Game Number 4 by Task Force Games in 1979. Steve Cole later recalled the design of Starfleet Battles began during 1975. Jim Brown and I were playing a lot of Jutland one afternoon, and I was studying the Jutland battle that was in progress on my floor. When the Star Trek rerun of the day came on, I began to consider the possibility of doing a space game centered on the Jutland system. Uh, Jagdpanther Panther was in operation at the time, and I had vague thoughts that I could somehow get a license for that game. Um, you got the Milky Way galaxy. It's divided into 24 sectors, each with a Greek alphabet. You can have things like ion storms. There are 5 void sectors: Epsilon, Iota, Pi, Upsilon, and Omega, where stars and planets' density is low, which tends to generate large ion storms and radiation clouds. This is something you kind of want to avoid. um, or not. It might be part of your strategy to get into it. That's why we have these guys here, because I'd like to talk and get into that a little bit.
So in the original game, they didn't have a whole lot of that. You could have asteroids, you could have planets. They didn't have a whole lot of ion storms that I remember. Mostly it was ship-to-ship combat. You could have obstacles out there, a space monster if you wanted to do that.
There were definitely quasars and nebulas. I
Yes,
remember that.
I do remember that. And I don't remember what happened if you went to them. If weapons functioned differently, shields didn't function the same. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, the basic set was you took a ship or a fleet of ships. A lot of times it was just pull out a couple of swords and here you're going to go ship to ship, or do a fleet, and they could be small to large. The big thing back in the day for us was the Andromedan invasion, Operation Unity. Operation Unity was the name of that, where everybody in the galaxy combined forces to go up against the Andromedan, which were these big, bad to the bone ships that did not have shields. They had PA panel, power absorber panels that basically absorbed energy and was able to, act as shields. Operation Unity was a huge, huge battle that Keith and I never got a chance to play. We tried to
So
put
many
that
times.
together, because you had to have 3 maps that all had battles on them that eventually led up into the Andromedan cloud, where you then had another battle. But it was so massive, so big, we were just never able to get together the resources and the people to do that one.
Right. Well, it's like Zig said in his introduction, right? Typically, you've got somebody playing one ship or at the most like a small squad of ships, right?
Hmm.
And as I remember, Operation Unity had massive fleets, right? Um, there would be like, on one map, I think there was like, 10 ships from the Klingons just by themselves, and then another 10 ships from 3 or 4 other smaller powers from that region of the galaxy. And then there were 2 other regions, one of which was led by the Feds and one of which was led by the Romulans, and they were the same. And so there might have been 20 or more ships on, that you would have to keep track of in one battle, which 2 people just can't do that.
And you talk about 20 ships on a map went up again, and that's the Allies went up against 5 Andromedan.
Right, because that's how badass they were.
Yeah.
Okay, so in playing Starfleet battles, you're in charge of one ship or a squadron. How big of a squadron can one person control?
Or a fleet.
4 or 5?
Or a fleet. Well, theoretically, if you can keep up with all of it, you could squadron a fleet of 20.
So
you have a dreadnought, a carrier, it's heavy cruiser complement, destroyers, light cruisers, all along with their complements of PF ships, fast patrol ship, fighters,
Yeah,
drones.
but one person. It sounds like one person can't keep up with 20 ships at a time. It sounds like
exactly. Yeah, that's the point.
5 or less.
Yeah. If we were talking about a video game, we would be calling that game a spreadsheet simulator, right? And I know the type. Master of Orion 3 is a classic example of a game where they just made it into too many, way too many numbers that you had to try to keep track of.
Yeah.
And after you got a few ships, it just wasn't fun anymore because you just couldn't keep track of everything anymore. Starfleet Battles is kind of in that same mode, only on paper, right? You win or lose games on power management, which means that every turn is a math problem. And that's, so every turn is a math problem for every ship that you are controlling.
Sure. How much warp, impulse power, and batteries do I need to put towards weapons, shield, labs, shuttle, drone, plasma torpedoes? You've got to APR, the power reactors. I mean, there was all kinds of different
power reserve or
Thank
something
you.
like that.
That's what I was looking for, auxiliary. So you had to allocate per ship. This is how much warp I have. This is how much impulse I have. This is how much APR I have. This is how much batteries I have. I have to use X amount to power my shields if I want to power them at full, or I could do a minimal and have minimum shields. You needed labs to potentially research other things. Oh, you could put power to transporters if you wanted to use transporters, because you can use transporters as a type of weapon depending on how you use it. You go to the Lyran Empire, you've got the expanding sphere generator. I need to put power to that. You've got the Romulans. You got to put power to your plasma torpedoes. Drones, I don't
get the cloaking device.
Cloaking device if you're going to use the Romulans. I don't think drones took power. I think those just launched.
Yeah, I think they were freebies. I think that was the primary attraction of drones, which are missiles. Just to be clear, we're talking about missiles in space.
Nuclear space missiles.
Yeah.
You have shuttles that you could power for various things, to do various things. You could make it to be a minesweeper. You could make it to be a suicide shuttle. You could make it to be a nasty little thing where you took a shuttle, you loaded it full of drones, you kicked the shuttle out into space, and somewhere out in the distance it exploded and all these drones come out. Transport, photon torpedoes, phasers. Trying to think of all the different things. Oh, you had to put power to the bridge. The bridge had to have power that you had to allocate to.
If you've sustained damage and you're going to try to do repair in combat, you have to allocate power to repair crews.
Power from warp to movement. You have to power that. And there's different things you can do with that power too, because you could do X amount of power, but you're going to, at a certain point in your movement, you're going to do one of those 360 spins. What was that called?
Oh, God, what did they call that?
because there was a term for that. You could put power towards being able to go out to a certain point and spin your ship 180 degrees so a different set of weapons is bearing.
Yeah. And if I recall correctly, there was a dice roll.
Yes.
Because there was a chance whenever you did that maneuver that you could break your ship up.
Yes.
Oh shit.
Yes. There was also electronic countermeasures that you could deploy out there.
So what you're basically saying is really 5 ships is probably as much as even somebody who's a seasoned player really
Probably.
should be controlling.
Yeah.
Probably,
Yeah,
because
that's fair to say.
yeah, because you've got to be able to remember, and this is why, when Keith and I played, we used grease shields that we put our SSDs in, your Starship design sheet, which are how you track everything. And it's these sheets that show a little graphic picture of the ship, and it has all these boxes inside that all mean different things.
You use grease pencils to mark
We
them?
used grease pencils, right. And then you had things on the side that said what your weapon ranges were and what the damage was, and things for drones and things for shuttles, blah, 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 blah. So we use grease shields. And what Keith and I used to do, we used to wait till Kinko's Copies did their penny a copy sale and take all the SSD books up there and just crank out hundreds of copies. So we had all the copies of these SSDs.
Yeah. What's interesting about that is that I realize the older I get, the more thoughtful this was that somewhere prominently on the book, it might have been the back cover. It said something like duplication from this book is allowed for personal use only.
Yep.
And I want to say that we got called out on that. One time when we were making 100 copies at Kinko's, somebody came out of the back and said, are you guys supposed to be doing that? And we were like, look righty.
Yep. Right on the back. Right on the back. But that's exactly why we use grease shield, because as you took damage or as you did certain things, you would have to mark boxes off on the sheet. And so you'd want to use the grease shield so you could use that SSD again in the future. Because your shields all had boxes, and as you took damage, you started marking off boxes on the shields. And when the shield was wiped out, you now had an open shield area that weapons go right through, direct damage into the ship. And what damage is specific.
Just wanted to circle back one more thing about the SSDs, Zig. You're talking about a huge number and a huge variety of ships in this game. I want to say that at some point there were probably something like 6 different books of SSDs, the little ship diagrams, and each one of those books probably had, what would you guess, Jeff, 40 or 50 pages in it?
Easily.
And
Nice.
so you're talking about, I would guess, we're talking about 300 different ship diagrams. And if you were an uber nerds like us that were like, oh, let's just, come up with a battle and let's figure out something weird to do. And so let's find, 3, little Lyran ships to send up against one Klingon battle cruiser. Well, you had to have those copies around. So I had this big file box with, I think, at least one copy of everything from all of those books.
Right.
Nice.
Ships that you might want several of in a single combat, I might have had 4 or 5 copies of all of those.
Keith brings up a fair point too. So this type of gameplay went forward into later things such as Marvel HeroClix, DC HeroClix, the same thing, where you all agreed to a specific point value because all the ships had was called a BPV, basic point value. And so let's say that Keith grabbed a Klingon B10, which was this big old huge dreadnought, which had fighters and everything like that. It was a big carrier dreadnought. It was like 310 BPV, if I remember right.
And so you would come up with 310 worth of Fed ships or whatever it is you're playing.
Ships. Right. Exactly. And then, as you go into other races, the funny thing was, it was really cool that that the game did this. So let's say, for example, that a Federation heavy cruiser was worth 200 BPV, and I think that's too high. But go over to the Lyrans, and their heavy cruiser was 250. Well, the reason for the difference as far as the game mechanics went is the Federation and the Klingons were first in the universe for development. They were always developing ships, and all the other races would have spies that saw what they did, so they made better ships. They just had fewer of them because the Klingons and the Feds just crank ships out.
Well, yeah, they would crank them out all along, and they were basically like, oh, hey, that's a great design. We can improve upon that and build it ourselves.
Yes.
Nice.
What was
Yes.
the little race that only had one little hex on the galactic map? And
There were two of them.
well, I'm thinking of the one that all their ships like were junked ships from other races.
Oh, the Orions. The Orions were junk. Oh, well, hold on. Let me back up.
I
The
think it's like
Orions,
Aliens.
because
Win.
it was the Win. The Win had junk ships. So let me touch on both. The Orion had classes from all over because the Orions stole ships
Right.
and they would refit them. The Win from the Win star cluster had these little junk ships that they cobbled together from ships that wandered into their star cluster because their star cluster was one of those that had a big radiation zone or something
Exactly.
like
It
that.
was like in a nebula or behind some giant radiation cloud or something.
Yeah. And so the Wind ships were typically weaker. You couldn't take a Wind ship out into normal space and have them match up to others. But inside the star cluster, the Winds were powerful
Yeah.
in these junk ships.
That's right. That's right. They had a special rule set where it's like anybody who came into their little zone spent like 5 turns, without shields, without power, or, without weapons, something like that. And so a tiny little frigate-sized wind ship could take down a cruiser under those specific conditions. But yeah,
Mhm.
if they tried to go out in the into regular space, they'd be toast.
They'd
Yeah.
get smacked. But in their octet or whatever it is, their little star cluster, you're kind of at their mercy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and so and that's how you saw the game because you had the big star map which showed all the various regions. And I'm a member of a Starfleet Battles Facebook group now, and they have added so much since we were there.
They
But
have released a new rule set called Starfleet Commander. I wanted to
yeah,
point that out. It's the newest set, and I think it cleans a lot of stuff up.
well, and there's new races out there from when we were on there. But you had the main star map which showed all the locations of all the different races. Um, and then the star map that you played on was a little tiny subsection of that. So the Wind star cluster on the galactic map was just one hex, one little hex, whereas one hex on really probably spanned maps and maps and maps.
So there was a big top down view, and then a zoomed in view is where you actually fought the
Mhm.
battle.
Yeah,
Okay.
you didn't play on the star map. That was just a visual to show you where everything was because
There we go.
you had the Federation sitting in the middle, and then you had the Klingons over here to the left, the Romulans over here to the right. Then beyond the Klingons, you had the Kzinti, the Lyrans, and the Hydrans. Where over on the Romulan side, you had the Gorn, the Tholians, and the ISC at the bottom. The Wynn were up here between the Lyrans and the Kzinti, and the Orions were down below the Federation and the ISC. And then you had the Andromedans out there. And I feel like I'm forgetting a race. Hydrans, Gorn, Romulans, Klingons, Kzinti, Lyran, Wynn, ISC. I don't know. I don't know. I forgot one. But yeah, I mean, it was so cool. You could develop your own strategies by knowing the rules, by knowing how a ship operated. You could learn to do different things. And I was talking to Keith earlier this week. One of the things that, and it was a rule that was put out in errata because somebody developed it, was called the Kaufman retrograde. And the Kaufman retrograde was basically a Federation starship would start going backwards and staying out of primary phaser range for most ships and just launch photon torpedoes because photon torpedoes had a huge range. and would just basically stay out of range of other weapons and just fire photon torpedoes at the other ship until the other ship was gone. So that was the Kaufman retrograde. I had Banshee Ball with the Lyrans, where at one point it was illegal, and then they legalized it. But you had the Lyrans that had the expanding sphere generator that were basically these bubbles of energy that they put around the ship that could absorb damage or make damage, and depending on what went through. Direct fire weapons went directly through, but anything that was solid, like a drone, a shuttle, would be damaged by the expanding sphere generator. But anyway, you take two Lyran ships and take one of it and put full power to tractor beams, tractor a ship, and ram it into another ESG. Switch off the ESG on this one, switch on the tractor, switch on the ESG over here, and ram the ship again over this side. Called Banshee Ball.
So the new commander rules, the Starfleet Battles Game system rests on several fundamental ideas out of which the rest of the system grows. Part of the perceived difficulty of the game is that all of these are more complicated to explain than to actually use. So a lot of the ideas and systems that kind of made them a little easier to use. You could still do the Banshee Ball. You could still do the other things, but some of the keeping track of your energy has been downgraded in these new systems. So it's
interesting.
Yeah, you're still doing it, but it's not. It's like THACO or THACO, right? Like before THACO, it was hard to you had to do math to calculate your armor class and whether or not something hit you. With the advent of THACO and subsequent rule sets in D&D, it was THACO stands for to hit armor class 0. The O is 0. So basically, they do the math problem for you. So all you got to do is plug your numbers in. It's like like getting a formula. Apparently, they're doing that now, so it's a little easier to get into. But you still got all the geekery going on.
Well,
as Keith said, it is still a math problem.
Oh, yeah.
But some of the formulas are already in place.
And being a rules lawyer and knowing the rules backwards and forwards was so key, which is why they used to have to come out with errata to sometimes fix things, because you could learn how to do certain things. One of those was, let's talk about the transporter bomb. So the transporter bomb was something that you would use a transporter and transport a bomb somewhere out on the map. And you would mark it on your sheet because you couldn't really see it. And when a starship entered that hex, the transporter bomb would go off. The problem with using a transporter bomb is you have to lower your shields in order to do that, which means your shields are down for an entire turn. Well, what somebody figured out was, why don't I just take the transporter bomb and kick it with my foot out the back shuttle bay and just leave it there? And that was legal. So you didn't have to lower your shields.
It's a mine.
Yeah. Oh, and they had mines too. But yeah, you just kicked it out the back of your shuttle bay and went on about your merry way. You did not have to announce that to the other player that you've dropped a transporter bomb and wait for them to just run through that hex and boom, it goes off. I love this game.
I can tell.
I love this game.
So some of the rules now, they've also decimalized where you can find the rules. So in the new subsets, it would be D6.683, which you can look up in the books themselves. So they give you a set of, hey, this is what this is covered in. So it's easier to find them, so you don't necessarily have to memorize everything, which I think is helpful to get more people into playing the game. And there are exception rules, but again, like the Banshee Ball, like the transporter bomb.
We could riff for an hour on all of the different unique little things that different races can do that nobody else can do.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what, part of the draw of having like this big galaxy with, 10 or however many races in it, is that everybody's got something unique to them.
Something that they figured out that nobody else did.
Yeah,
sure. And you had to know strategies against different foes, because for the Romulans, for example, let's throw cloak out the door for a minute. If they're using cloak, it makes it even tougher. But when you're playing against a Romulan, being able to stay away from it and hit it from long range was fairly important, because if you get even the smallest of Romulan starships would have what's called a plasma R on it. And the plasma R did heinous, nasty amounts of damage. If I remember right, 50 points of damage.
Yeah,
And if
50
you have
points of damage.
and
Which,
if you have
just to put that in context, that would basically wreck a cruiser.
oh yeah, if it hits. But with a plasma torpedo, the farther it has to go on the map, it starts decreasing in damage level because it's running out of fuel. Alternately, as the plasma torpedo, because it is a little token on the map that moves, you can hit it with phasers and further decrease its power. So staying away from a Romulan was pretty important.
But I would assume that in some cases, in some other species or groups or powers out in the galaxy, getting in close would be better.
Oh yeah, Klingons need to get close. Their weapons are relatively short range.
Yep.
They're short range and fast firing, and if you're playing a Klingon ship, you're looking for a knife fight.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yep.
Whereas with the Romulans, you want to use long guns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And the Federation had those long guns with their far-reaching photon torpedo, which was a direct fire weapon. Even though if you watch the movies, you see it as a solid torpedo, it is a direct fire. Once it's fired, it goes directly to the ship it's going to hit. Whereas a plasma torpedo and a drone, those have little counters on the map that go around.
You can move them.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They said for most casual, there are different formats for the game. Most casual and most usual way the game is played among individual gamers, not involved in regular group play, is what is called a pickup game. Each starship class unit in Starfleet battles has what's called a basic point value. So you just, hey, let's play a 200-point game this weekend, and you guys would go and play it.
Hence what I was talking about, the BPVs.
Yes. Yeah. There are scenarios that you guys can run. I'm assuming you guys did some scenarios back in the day.
Operation Unity was a scenario, for example. You would have things like you could have rescue scenarios where you had to go out and you had to rescue a ship that was under attack, or the space monsters. There were scenarios with that. There were very particular battles that you would have scenarios against, or you would just do here's a map. I'm taking these two ships. You're taking these two ships. Let's fight.
It's a pickup game, yeah.
Yeah.
They've also said that there's just a thing called a campaign game. Did you guys ever do any campaign models?
Operation Unity would be campaign.
Yeah. What Jeff was referring to with Operation Unity, that wasn't actually a scenario. That was a campaign, which is a whole string of scenarios run together.
And you just couldn't get enough people to do it?
No, because there's so many ships. So again, you had the Andromedan Cloud, and you had these 3 legs that came off the Andromedan Cloud. And if I recall right, you had 5 individual scenarios on each leg before you ever got to the Andromedan Cloud.
I want to say it was only 3, but yeah.
Was it 3?
Something like that, yeah.
And you had to hit each leg depending on where you were coming from.
Yeah.
Oh, good God. Yeah, so that's years of playing.
Could be, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we tried to do it. We tried to do it over a day. Oh
and you
man!
Remember how many times it was like, okay, today's the day. We're going to start Operation Unity. We're going to have everybody there at 8 a.m, and we're all going to be ready to go. Yeah, that
never happened.
Did it ever happen? Did you ever get the people there at the right time and start playing it? Realize it's just too fucking long.
Exactly. No, never happened. I think the closest we ever got was we got like the first scenario on the first leg of the journey to Andromeda. So, number 1 of 10, say. I think we actually got that all laid out on the map and whatever, and that was as far as we ever got.
Oh no. Oh no. You didn't even get to play the first scenario.
Yeah.
That's depressing. Sorry, guys.
No, we had a lot of fun with this game. I mean, I took the rule book to school with me. It was in my backpack. And when I wasn't having to work on stuff for school, or sometimes even when I did,
Hmm.
I'd crack open my rule book and get called a nerd. Uh,
Hmm.
I didn't
Well,
care.
that
Nerd.
was that
Fuck
was the
you.
beauty of having the rule book collated in a binder.
Yeah.
Was it just looked like some other schoolwork.
Yeah. Hey, I'm doing my homework. You're doing Starfleet battles. Well, and the thing about it is, I realize that nerdery and geekery is far more prevalent in society, but you got to remember when you guys were playing this, you guys both went to Southwest High School. What do you guys have, 1,000 kids in Southwest?
My graduating class had 510 in it, so about
Yeah,
two,
I think
probably about
four
2,000.
years of about roughly 500 a year,
So
so 2,000.
2,000 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out of those 2,000 kids, there was what, maybe a dozen of you that were playing, maybe,
No,
Yeah,
no,
maybe.
not even
or
a
who knew
dozen.
about it. That's the thing. Starfleet Battles is one of those things that very few people even knew about.
Right.
It
Right.
was it was it was it was like the underground of the underground.
Yeah. It's like
And
you had to go to the game store and put up a note on the bulletin board at the game store saying, I'm looking for Starfleet Battles players, because that's
yeah,
the only way you were ever going to find somebody, you know.
yeah. So I mean, and now it's one of those things where there are more and more people getting into things like this. Again, I don't want to say simplifying the rules, but making them a little more cogent and a little easier to follow seems to be kind of opening the door for more people to play this, which is, that's one of the reasons why we do this show. It's like, dude, if you guys aren't playing this, you should really check it out. This is
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
By the way, I finally found it. The Operation Unity had 3 legs, and each leg composed of 4 scenarios
Ah, I got it.
before you got to the cloud.
Good
So we were
God.
both close.
Yeah, you're both on office. So 12, and then you had to find out. So 13 individual battles.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
Uh,
which the last one was you're facing like this Andromedan star base with whatever the combined fleets of whatever's left of all three of the lanes
oh
fighting
God.
this. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's weeks and weeks and weeks of play, it
Yeah.
seems like.
Could be. It could be.
Yeah, yeah, you get a Saturday afternoon. There's a battle. That's 12 right there. Then 13 is probably like a 2-day event. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds awesome.
But I mean, just think of it in context of like a D&D campaign, right? Where you might have the same group of players getting together every Sunday night, just to
Hmm.
pick a night at random, and you're playing the same campaign for like a year and a half, 2 years,
Hmm.
maybe.
Yeah,
You know,
same thing.
yeah. So yeah, we've done that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same thing. So yeah, kids, if you're listening, definitely check out some Starfleet battles. This might be up your alley. Uh, this is these guys have been nerding out about this for years and years and years. I'm only tangentially aware of it because I thumbed through their rule books over the years. But I was like, we need to talk about this, and kicked the episode out long enough so we could get Keith on here because you two really need to talk about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we played it
And for a long
once.
time, I'm just sitting there going, oh yeah, talk about the Banshee Ball.
Well, and the Facebook group, if you're interested in kind of seeing a little bit more, is actually just called Starfleet Battles. That's 3 words, Starfleet Battles. And I've really loved watching this little Facebook group because they're all using little 3D counters now instead of the little flat
Cardboard
cardboard,
chiclets.
cardboard
Cardboard
chiclets
chiclets.
that you had so many of. And they've been a lot of fun. And it's funny because I've seen a lot of these where they're having these tournaments, and I look at the pictures of these tournaments, I'm like, these guys are all my age. Because they've been playing them for so long. It's a super, super fun game. It is a very high strategy game. So it's good to be able to develop strategy. You have to know how the ship works. You have to know how it operates, and
Can I
yeah.
can I interrupt you there?
Yep.
I would say that on Starfleet for the individual ship battles, Matt, it's not strategy as much as it's tactical.
Yes,
It's a very tactical game.
absolutely.
But you can get the elements of strategy when you pull away from the individual ship battles, either because you're playing something like Federation and Empire, which is the strategic version of this universe, um, where basically the individual battles are just resolved by die rolls. Um, or you're playing a big campaign like Operation Unity or something. But yeah, it's the tactics on the individual ship level that you have to be
Mm-hmm.
good at.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Good stuff.
Allocations, getting stuff done. Well, thank you so much for coming along and talking about this.
Yeah,
Unless you
no.
guys want have more, if you guys have more, let's. I'm all
Uh,
ears.
yeah, I could talk for probably about 4 hours on Starfleet battles.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
we
ditto.
don't need. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't
Um,
do a 4 hour.
no,
Is
I
there
think
anything else that you feel like needs to be explained?
no, just for our listeners' edification, if you were curious, the main races that Keith and I played, he played Romulans, I played Lyrans. I liked the Lyran ship.
Yeah,
They were a lot of fun to play. We had a friend Paul who mainly liked the Feds or sometimes the Klingons. Our friend Clayton, who does listen to the show, he loved the Gorns. Our late friend Roger loved the Win. Um, which is actually how he got his nickname Fusion, was from the Winds, because there was a fusion beam that was actually from the Hydrons, but the Wind used it too. But yeah, we had several friends who played this. Jim played, didn't he?
yeah, Jim. I was going to ask if when you and I were playing, was Jim playing with us? I couldn't remember how much overlap there was there.
So I didn't play with Jim much. I played with Jim a few times. Jim was a master strategist.
Yeah,
He
he
was
was
a
badass.
master
He was the guy to
at
beat
that.
at this
Yeah,
game
Oh yeah.
yeah,
amongst our circle.
master at it.
Who would
Master
he
at it.
take, or did it matter?
Jim generally took the Feds, I think.
Yeah, I think he and Paul kind of like to trade off on Feds and Klingons.
I think so. I think
But
so.
yeah, it's like everybody. I mean, you could play whoever you want. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't like a
Right.
character in D&D where you're expected to play the same,
Yeah.
race
No.
every single time you play. It's just every people would get an affinity for the particular ships and
Yes.
tactics of
Yes.
some particular race. And
Yeah.
I think that was largely down to the fact that because there were so many rules and so many things to be done, you really had to focus. You had to pick somebody
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
you could get good at their,
At their stuff,
yeah,
Yep.
their
at their
stuff.
tactics, their strategies.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that makes
Yep.
sense.
Paul liked the Kazini too. He loved the Kazini.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So yeah, but Keith's absolutely right. It just helped with your focus on, what tactics you were going to use. It was best to focus on a singular race, because they each had their own different things that you could really focus on. So great one, Zig. I appreciate that.
Sure. I thought this was going to be fun.
Yeah,
Thank you for
fun for us
coming
at
on
any
and
rate.
talking about it, Keith. Appreciate it.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on. This is great.
With that, I will step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off the Arizona Republic, Wikipedia, ABC 15 News, NBC News, and Fox 10 News. And this is the story of Richard Kenneth Djerf.
Richard Kenneth Djerf.
So I recently came back from a trip from Phoenix, and as the news was on one morning, I saw that the state of Arizona was about to execute someone, and it flashed the name up on the screen. And I said, "Oh, I probably need to look that up." And my sister went, "Oh yeah, you so need to read about this one, because this is a case about obsession and revenge." So Richard Kenneth Djerf, he was born in Phoenix, Arizona on November 6th, 1969, was described as pretty much a loner, but he stated that an alleged home robbery of his home was committed by Albert Luna Jr., who was a former friend of his, whom he met when they were working as night custodians at a Safeway supermarket. Hey, Keith and I worked at a Kroger. Okay, bygones. Um, So in January of 1993, Albert Luna Jr. stole several electronic items, among them a cassette player and an AK-47 rifle from Durf's apartment. And originally, Durf contacted police to report the robbery, but decided to commit personal revenge for the home invasion because he was frustrated by police inaction or making any arrest. He felt that he knew who did it. The police should be arresting this person. Why aren't they doing anything? And so he became obsessed with his own revenge. So on September 14th, 1993, Durf showed up at the Luna home with flowers and forced himself in at gunpoint. Patricia Luna and her son Damien Luna were at home. Durf held Damien hostage, and then he forced Patricia to load several items owned by the Luna household into his car. And then he repeatedly asked Patricia whether she wanted her or Damien to die first, and also questioned her about the whereabouts of Albert Luna Sr. He then secured Mrs. Luna and her son by tying their arms and legs and gagging them. Their daughter, Rochelle Luna, arrived home at 3 p.m., and Durf took her into her bedroom. He gagged her with tissue paper and tape. He raped and killed her by stabbing her 3 times in the chest and then slitting her throat. And then he returned downstairs and informed Patricia what had just happened. Albert Luna Sr. then arrived home at 4 p.m., and Durf forced him to crawl into his bedroom at gunpoint. He handcuffed Albert Sr. to the bed, smashed his head with a baseball bat, and then removed the handcuff, believing that Albert Sr. was dead. He then returned to the kitchen with Mrs. Luna and Damon. Albert Luna Sr. regained consciousness and charged Durf with a pocket knife, wounding him. Durf then stabbed Albert Sr. through the arm before reaching for his Beretta pistol and shooting Albert Sr. 6 times. He then turned to Patricia and said, "Do you want to watch your kid die, or do you want your kid to watch you die?" And then he shot Patricia and Damien in the head at close range. Before shooting Damien and Patricia in the head, though, he first tried other methods to kill them, including attempting to snap his Damien's neck, which failed, and then electrocuting the boy, which also failed. Before he left, he sprinkled gasoline on the bodies and around the house. He turned on the stove and left a pizza box and rag on the burner to try to burn the house down, but this was unsuccessful. He drove away in the Luna family car, where he met his girlfriend, claiming he had been robbed and stabbed by 2 men, and then went to the hospital for treatment. This entire ordeal at the Luna home lasted about 7 hours. Albert Luna Jr., who he was mad at, go ahead.
Okay. This is revenge for someone stealing some electronics out of his house?
And a gun.
What all did they steal? Okay, a gun.
And some electronics. But, okay, back up. Not they, Albert Luna Jr., who I have not mentioned in this whole ordeal so far.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I am following along. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. No, he tortured and killed this entire family over 7 hours, but the person he was upset with didn't arrive home until 11:45 p.m. the next day. He arrived, he saw what happened in the house, he immediately called the police. There was an officer, Ernie Britz. He was 36 years old at the time of the murders. He was the first to enter the home. He'd been with the Phoenix police for about 14 years at this point, and he said he had seen a lot of bad things, but nothing like he saw at the Luna home. Britt said, quote, "The father lying on the kitchen floor, and his head was all smashed and blood everywhere. To the right was the mother sitting in a chair facing the 5-year-old boy who was sitting in a chair, both taped to the chair, and she had tape on her face. It was horrific. There were many detectives and officers who say it was the worst crime scene they ever saw, and many declined to be interviewed about what they saw. 32 years have passed since these murders, and Britt said so many lives changed that day, including his partner, who had gone into the bedroom where Rochelle was. Yes, sir. You're waving?
Oh, sorry. I'm actually waving goodbye.
That's somebody else. Britt said, quote, "We came outside after the house was cleared, and John, my partner, was just heaving, and I said, 'What's the matter?' And he goes, 'Nothing.' He kept saying he didn't see anybody in the room or anything, but obviously he had. It's hard to forget. and it leaves a scar no matter what. Britt's partner was never the same. He quit the department 2 years after the murders, and I guess Keith left us. I thought he was waving goodbye to somebody else, but he left us.
He doesn't like the murder part.
And a lot of people don't. I understand that. We have people who really, really do, and some that don't. Djerf did confess that the Luna family murders to the Luna family murders in detail to his girlfriend on September 15th, citing that it was really awesome and you should have been there. In the following days, Djerf bragged about the murders to multiple other friends, including leading to a police report and subsequent arrest on September 18th. At which point, Phoenix police executed search warrants on his apartment, car, and motel room, finding multiple items stolen from the Luna household along with the murder weapons. On October 29th, 1993, while being held without bond and confinement, Djerf tried to commit suicide by slashing his wrist with a shank forged from electronic parts of a Halloween card he received. He did admit to the crimes and pled guilty to 4 charges of first-degree murder at trial on August 16th, 1995. And as part of a plea agreement in exchange for a dismissal of all other charges. He later stated he hoped his plea deal would make him less likely to be sentenced to death, despite acting Judge Michael Ryan warning him that the death penalty would still been a likely possibility. There were 4 death sentence rulings on May 22nd, 1996. Djerf scoffed at the multiple death sentence, saying they can only kill me once. The judge who sentenced Djerf to death in 96 said that Djerf had relished that time he spent killing the Luna family to get revenge against his friend for burglarizing his apartment. The Arizona Supreme Court would reject Djerf's appeal, and the U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear it. So the Arizona Supreme Court issued a warrant of execution in February of 2002. The U.S. District Court issued a stay 1 month later, and the reason for this stay, Arizona went through a very long time of a very long period where executions were on hold because there was a lot of protesting going on about lethal injection for Arizona, saying they weren't doing it properly and it was inhumane. Djerf did continue his appeal to the federal courts. Under Ring versus Arizona, the Supreme Court ruled that only a jury and not a judge could hand a death sentence. And so that put Djerf's case on permanent hold until the Supreme Court clarified its ruling in Shiro versus Summerlin. All 3 of these cases, Ring, Summerlin, and Djerf, are all Arizona capital murder cases. In April 2017, the district court dismissed all of his claims and Djerf appealed the dismissal. On July 24th, 2019, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed the district court's dismissal. And as of April 2021, Djerf was one of the 20 Arizona death row inmates who had exhausted all appeals at that time. So this case is significant for multiple reasons. First, under a Rule 11 law, Djerf insisted on the right to fire his legal counsel and represent himself. He had to fight for the right to legally represent himself in court so he could forego a trial and enter a guilty plea. But the court stated that Djerf's high school education was little preparation to defend himself in a major murder trial, so it was dismissed. His case
this isn't small claims court, man.
No. And his case is often cited as a self-representation case where it's not in the client's best interest to represent themselves as long as the person can prove competency.
Yeah.
After the execution of Aaron Gunches on March 19th, 2025, it had been speculated that Djerf was next in line for execution, although no more motion seeking a death warrant had yet been filed. Those speculations proved correct when on May 22nd, 2025, 29 years to the day since Djerf was first sentenced to death, Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays requested an execution date. It was initially expected that Djerf would receive his death warrant on October 19th, 2025 for a requested execution date of October 9th. However, on October 19th, the Arizona Supreme Court granted the warrant, scheduling Djerf to be executed by lethal injection on October 17th, 2025. On September 18th, Djerf wrote a handwritten letter to the media in which he apologized for the murders and stated he would not seek clemency from the state for his upcoming execution. The letter said, quote, "If I can't find reason to spare my life, what reason would anyone else have? I hope my death brings some measure of peace." He was executed by lethal injection on October 17th, 2025, the second inmate to be executed by Arizona in 2025. He was declared dead at 10:40 a.m. local time and did not have any last words. County Attorney Rachel Mitchell commented on Djerf's execution in a news release shared by Maricopa County Attorney's office, stating, quote, "There are some crimes so unspeakable, so devoid of humanity that justice demands the ultimate punishment. This is that case. Richard Djerf is a prime example of why the death penalty exists. Today was a final day of justice, not only for the memory of those of the 4 innocent lives he took, but also the only surviving son and extended Luna family who have carried the weight of that loss every single day." This execution, by the way, was the 39th that has happened in 2025 nationwide.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we know if the Luna Kid actually stole the gun and the electronics?
Apparently, yes. Apparently, that was
he actually
confirmed.
did. Okay.
He actually did.
Okay.
We've had debates on this show multiple times about the death penalty, and I won't beleaguer the fact Zig is anti-death penalty. I am pro-death penalty. Zig doesn't believe it's a deterrent. I do believe it's a deterrent. I'm not gonna debate that because I'm just telling you where our sides are. This is one of those that I sit in Zig's court on because we've talked about this so many times. This case was about a man pissed off because another man stole his shit.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of going after the man, he chose to go after the man's family. And this is one where it's like your levels don't match. So this guy stole some shit from you. So you went and tortured his family and killed
his family. Yeah, including like a 5-year-old.
Yeah. So
we need to understand why that guy broke that way.
There you go. That's where I was getting to on this. We do have to understand why he broke, because the only thing I could get, I looked so much to find out more about his early life and see if I could find something, because all I could find is that he was described as a loner. I found nothing else about his growing up or his adulthood to see if we could see something where it's like, oh my God, this is where he turned. This is where he broke bad.
Yeah.
Because I do not understand how this person went, okay, this guy I know, he stole some of my shit, so I'm going to go torture and kill his family as revenge. Your levels don't match.
Exactly.
They just don't match.
Why not just go steal some shit?
Sure. I understand.
Or get your shit back.
Sure.
You know?
I understand he was mad at the police. He was mad at the police, so he took matters into his own hands.
Yeah.
But going and torturing and killing his family is beyond. Beyond.
Makes no sense. It's not even reasonably. It's not a reasonable crime of passion. If he'd have walked in and just killed them all, that actually makes more sense.
Not the family. It doesn't make any sense.
No. What I'm saying is the guy's having he stole everything. I'm going to walk in and I'm just going to shoot everybody in this room. That actually makes more sense to me because it's a crime of passion.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm with you now. I understand what you're saying.
Instead of taking 7 hours?
I got you.
What?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
What? That's not a crime of passion.
If he had decided he was so pissed off at this guy that he wants to get revenge on this guy and kill Albert Luna Jr.,
it makes sense.
Not that it's right.
No, but it makes sense.
At least makes sense. Yeah. I do not advocate murder, but yes, that makes some sense. This guy stole my shit. I'm gonna go kill him. Okay, you're gonna go to jail. It's stupid.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be killing people.
But it makes sense.
Versus torturing an entire family because this guy stole some of my shit.
Yeah. And we confirmed the guy actually did steal the shit.
Yeah, it was confirmed. He did steal the stuff, and just the police had made the arrest. And I don't know if it's just the police. Granted, he said Albert Luna Jr. did it, but maybe they hadn't had the evidence yet to convict this guy.
They got to prove that shit.
They do have to prove it. They have to get warrants. They have to have evidence. You know, did they come check Djerf's home for fingerprints, for you know what, we don't know, because wasn't in any of these stories what the police did or did not do. What we do know is Djerf lost his mind because the police were not acting accordingly, according to him, and he just broke. And so I can only hope in the 39 years or 29 years, whatever it was, from the time he was arrested until he was executed, I hope he was in psychoanalyst throughout that.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
because yeah, honestly, it's like my whole thing about execution is it doesn't benefit society.
right, and
It,
that's what I said. I don't want to debate that.
yeah, it doesn't benefit society. Understanding why the fuck this guy went nuts, that could help us out way down the road. You know, you don't, because Jesus fucking Christ, talk about overcompensation.
Right. Um, Hold on one sec.
Mhm.
Um, that's exactly it. It is. It's overcompensation. It doesn't make any sense. I have said this repeatedly right here at the end. The levels where it's just too much. I don't understand
Yeah,
the levels
yeah,
that this happened. So anyway, that's the
that's
story of Richard
fascinating.
Kenneth Djerf.
Thank you for that. That
Yeah.
one was fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was just watching the news and they said, Arizona man to be
Look,
executed
Shelley's
tomorrow
like,
morning.
oh, you need to look this one up.
Yeah, and she started telling me what all happened, and I went, "Are you kidding me?
The
Seriously?"
fuck?
Yeah, so I was like, "Yeah, as soon as I get home, I'm studying this one." So thank you to my sister Shelley who does listen. Thank you for giving me more information on this because it was absolutely fascinating. So that's the story of Richard Kenneth Djerf.
Well, thank you, sir.
And
That was
if you need to look him up, it's Djerf, Djerf, but I believe it's Djerf.
Durf. Yeah.
I think it's a silent J. So that will take us to the end of another recording week. Before I get into my normal stuff, I would like to remind everybody that my debut novel, Prime Numbers, is for sale now. I'm working on getting an audiobook for this. I don't know when that's going to be, but I'm working on it. But it is available in hardback and paperback in ebook. Zig, your copy shipped yesterday, so you will have it by
Yay!
Friday.
Yay!
Zig is in the book. I have to say this. It's funny. So there are people that know us, and there are people who listen to the show. Put a pin in that. Remind me, people who listen to the show. I'll get back to that. And people who listen to the show that say, as they're reading the book, they can hear me and Zig, or Zig and I.
Mhm.
They can hear us in here, which I think is hysterical. We had a friend who knows all of us and didn't understand Randy's character, but 100% understood Zig's character, which I think is hysterical. So do pick up Prime Numbers, available on Amazon. I hope people enjoy it. Zig is working on his book. I have a pause on reading his because we have our other friend Stephen Boster who just finished his and is out there. So I want to finish reading that so we can have him on the show. And then I'm going to get back to Zig's. I forgot to do this at the beginning of the show, so I'm doing it here on the end, and hopefully he's still on. When I was in Phoenix, when I found out about this episode, I was at a party and I met this young man named Zach. It's Zach or Zachary, and I apologize. I can't remember if it's Zach or Zachary. But he knows my sister, and he's a listener of our show. And when he showed up to the party, he asked my sister. He goes, "Is he there? Is he here? Can I meet him?" And he
Like
came
you're someone
up.
famous.
I know, and he came up and he talked to me. I was eating some food at the time, and he came up and he talked to me, and I turned and I was happily talking to him. And he goes, "I'm so sorry, I don't mean to interrupt what you're eating. Please go back to that." And I'm like, "Dude, talk to me. I'm cool. It's all good." And he did. He talked to me like I was some major motion picture star, and it was really, really cool. But I was happy to talk to him. I thought he was a super nice guy. But he said not only is he a listener, he loves everything about the show, and he looks forward every week to the show So I thought that was
Oh,
really
that's
cool.
right. Yeah. Zach, thank you very much for
Yes,
listening.
that's the one I texted you about when I was in Phoenix. I said,
Oh,
please remember this. I need to do this.
yes. Let's give a shout out for Zach.
Yes, wanted to give a shout out for Zach. He's a very dedicated listener to the show. Talked to him for quite a while, about the show and everything, and he's a very dedicated listener. Very glad to have him. So I said I would mention him on the show, and there you go. I meant to do that at the very beginning. Zach, I apologize.
Zach,
Here you go.
he's a Lego maniac. Thank
There
you,
you
Zach.
go. There you go. So thank you, Zach. Yeah, so if you go to nerdyormurdery.com, that's our website where you'll find information about us. That's our hub. Everything about us, you'll find links and you'll find pictures, and you will also find the link to our YouTube page with Zig So Often Update.
Yes, please go check this one out. There's actually a rundown, all the stuff that we talked about. There's actually a video to show you how to set up and play this game and what you're going to need, including the little boards that they were talking about, some visual representation.
Awesome. It's a fun game. I enjoyed it a lot. You can also find the link to our merchandise page. Oh, thank you for all your work on that, Zig, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You can also find the link to our merchandise page, or if you wish to show off your Nerdery and Murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from there. You'll also find the link to our Patreon account. So if you wish to become a patron and help with the costs that are associated with that show, both our patrons and our purchasers of merchandise help keeping us on the air. We have costs for our uploads, for our website, for our storage, and everything that goes into this. We do appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Something you can do for free, though, is anywhere you can leave a 5-star review, please do. If you like our show, you can leave a 5-star review on Amazon, on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube. So many places that you can leave a 5-star review, and we are on all over the place. Please do consider doing that completely free, costs you nothing, and really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the information we discuss. Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. I
Please and
thought I
thank
said please and thank you. I'm sorry.
You said it in your head.
Oh, that's what it was.
I did want to state, by the way, just for anybody who's ever curious, all this stuff I say at the end is in my head. I have it memorized. I am not reading off anything. That's why I sometimes stumble over this, because sometimes I just stumble through.
It's like the stabs. The stabs are all fucking just organic.
Yeah.
And we recorded them one time, and we used like 4 or 5 of them. It's like, we need to start making new of these. So most of the time, they're just, you got to stab. I'm like, oh yeah, there's something I wanted to say.
Absolutely. I could completely record this end and what I say.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it to be organic. I like even when I stumble over words or anything like that,
or forget to say please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Last but certainly not least, I would like to give a shout out to our friend Chuck. Chuck, you can go to sleep now.
Good night, Chuck.
Good night, Chuck. With that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.